What do you call a species that evolved on a planet where literally everything is trying to kill them? According to Galactic Protocol 15C, you classify their homeworld as uninhabitable and mark it as extreme hazard. Avoid contact. But what happens when that species not only survives, but thrives beyond your wildest imagination? Archive entry 001. The DEATHWORLD Protocols. Classification level. Maximum security. Species designation. Homo sapiens Sol System. Third planet. Database access. Initiated. This is the story of how we got everything wrong about humanity. My name is Dr. Kethfer of the Zenthari Research Institute, and I've been cataloging worlds for the Galactic Council for over 40 standard cycles. In that time, I've surveyed gas giants where diamond rain falls upward, ice worlds where the very atmosphere can freeze your thoughts, and volcanic hellscapes where molten metal flows like water. But nothing in my extensive database prepared me for what we designated as Sol 3. The initial survey data was ... disturbing. Surface gravity 1.2 times galactic standard, already pushing the limits of what most species could tolerate. Atmospheric composition, a volatile mix of oxygen and nitrogen that could combust under the right conditions. Weather patterns included rotating wind systems capable of destroying entire cities, electrical storms with enough energy to power a small space station, and temperature variations that could kill most known life forms within minutes. But that was just the beginning. The planet's surface was 71% covered in a corrosive liquid diogen monoxide in its liquid state. For those unfamiliar with this compound, it's the same substance we use in industrial processes to dissolve metals. These creatures were literally swimming in industrial solvent. The land masses were no better. Active volcanic regions spewed toxic gases and molten rock. Seismic activity could shift entire continents without warning. The polar regions were locked in permanent ice ages, while equatorial zones reached temperatures that would cook most organic matter. And then there was the wildlife. Great cosmic void, the wildlife. Creatures with crushing jaw pressure, exceeding 2,000 pounds per square inch. Predators that could accelerate from 0 to 60 kilometers per hour in under 3 seconds. Poisonous plants that could kill with a single touch. Microscopic organisms that could consume living tissue while their host was still alive. By every metric in our classification system, Sol 3 was a Class 12 death world, the highest possible hazard rating. The kind of planet where we post warning beacons and tell shipping lanes to add an extra parsec to their routes, just to be safe. Our preliminary assessment was clear. Probability of complex life evolution, negligible. Probability of intelligent life, statistically, 0. Recommended action, quarantine, and avoid. We were wrong about everything. The first sign that our models were flawed came during what should have been a routine deep space survey. Our long-range sensors detected something that made no sense. Electromagnetic signatures consistent with industrial civilization. From a world, life cannot be exist. Senior Survey Commander Yithra of the 4th Fleet thought it was a sensor malfunction. Run the diagnostic again, she ordered. Those readings can't be correct, but they were correct. Not only were there signs of civilization on Sol 3, but the electromagnetic spectrum analysis suggested a species that had achieved atomic manipulation, global communications, and were actively launching primitive spacecraft. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. In 12,000 years of space exploration, we had never encountered a sapient species that had evolved on a world classified above Deathworld Class 8. Class 12 was supposed to be impossible. The Council's response was immediate. Initiate First Contact Protocol, Omega. Approach with maximum caution. These beings may be hostile due to their extreme environment. Looking back, that assumption about hostility reveals more about us than it does about them. The First Contact team consisted of our most experienced xenobiologists, led by myself, along with cultural specialists, linguists, and a full diplomatic corps. We approached Sol 3 with our most advanced stealth technology, intending to observe before making contact. What we observed defied everything we thought we knew about life. These beings, who called themselves humans, weren't just surviving on their death world, they were thriving. They had spread across every continent, adapted to every climate zone, and were actively modifying their environment to suit their needs. But it was their behavior that truly shocked us. These beings, who called themselves humans, weren't just surviving on their death world, they were thriving. They had spread across every continent, adapted to every climate zone, and were actively modifying their environment to suit their needs. But it was their behavior that truly shocked us. She was monitoring a group of young humans who had traveled to one of the planet's frozen polar regions, not for survival or resource gathering, but for recreation. They were sliding down mountains of frozen water using primitive wooden planks, laughing as they narrowly avoided collisions with trees and rocks that could easily prove fatal. Are they enjoying this? Asked Dr. Melthor, our physiologist. The answer was yes, they were enjoying it. Further observation revealed even more disturbing behaviors. Humans would voluntarily submerge themselves in the corrosive liquid they called water, for fun. They would climb the planet's highest mountains, vertical rock faces, in atmospheric conditions that would suffocate most species simply because it was there. Most shocking of all, they had domesticated some of the planet's predatory species and kept them in their dwellings as companions. This is unprecedented, I reported to the Council. These beings don't just survive extreme conditions, they seek them out. They appear to have evolved a neurochemical response that makes danger ... enjoyable. The Council's response was swift. Increase classification to code. Red. These beings may be the most dangerous species we've ever encountered. Our understanding of human danger levels took another dramatic shift during week 4 of our observation. We had been monitoring a small human settlement when a natural disaster struck, what they called a wildfire. The flames moved faster than most humans could run, consuming everything in their path. By all calculations, the settlement should have been abandoned as the inhabitants fled to safety. Instead, we witnessed something that still gives me chills. The humans didn't flee. They turned toward the fire and fought it. Using primitive tools and their own bodies, they created fire breaks, diverted water sources, and risked their lives to save not just their own dwellings, but those of their neighbors. Some humans ran into burning structures to rescue others, not family members or mates, but individuals they had no genetic relationship to whatsoever. Dr. Kethver reported, our anthropologist, Dr. Veshtar. I believe we're witnessing a phenomenon unknown in galactic civilization. These humans appear to form emotional bonds not just with their own species, but with anything they perceive as part of their pack. The pack bond, as we came to call it, extended beyond humans. We watched in amazement as humans risked their lives to save the very predatory species they had domesticated. During the fire, one human entered a burning structure 5 separate times to rescue small mammals that served no apparent survival function. They called them pets. This behavior is completely irrational, observed Dr. Malther. The energy expenditure and risk assessment make no sense from an evolutionary perspective. But we were thinking about it all wrong. What we were seeing wasn't irrational. It was the ultimate evolutionary adaptation for a death world. These humans had survived, not despite their hostile environment, but because of it. Their death world had forged them into something unprecedented. A species that became stronger through cooperation, not competition. As our observations continued, a pattern emerged that revolutionized our understanding of evolutionary biology. Every impossibility we documented about human survival had a corresponding adaptation that went beyond what should have been biologically possible. Their planet's atmospheric composition, which we thought would be toxic, had actually enhanced their cellular efficiency. The high oxygen content had given them endurance capabilities that dwarfed most galactic species. A human could run for hours without rest, something that would kill a Xanthari in minutes. The variable gravity and extreme weather hadn't weakened them. It had made them incredibly versatile. We watched humans adapt to altitude changes that would cause organ failure in most species. They could function normally in temperatures that ranged from well below freezing to nearly 50 degrees Celsius. But most remarkable was their recovery rate. Dr. Malther's physiological scans revealed something extraordinary, Commander. These beings appear to have accelerated healing capabilities. Minor injuries that would require medical intervention for most species heal naturally within days. Their immune systems are fighting off microorganisms that would be lethal to 80% of known galactic species. They had evolved on a death world for millions of years. Every generation that survived was stronger, more adaptable, more resilient than the last. They weren't just products of evolution, they were evolution's masterpiece. What truly set humans apart, however, wasn't their physical adaptations, it was their mental ones. Living on a world where everything was trying to kill you required more than strength or speed. It required the ability to find solutions to impossible problems. Humans had developed what we could only describe as adaptive creativity, the ability to look at any situation and find not just one solution, but multiple creative alternatives. We observed a group of humans whose primitive spacecraft had malfunctioned during what they called a mission to the moon. By all calculations, they should have died. The craft was damaged, their life support was failing, and they were hundreds of thousands of kilometers from their home planet. Instead of accepting death, they used materials never intended for their improvised purpose, rerouted power systems in ways that violated safety protocols, and literally reinvented space travel techniques in real time. They not only survived, they returned home safely. This level of adaptive problem solving, reported Dr. Zenthiela, suggests a mental flexibility that exceeds anything in our galactic database. These beings don't just adapt to their environment, they adapt their environment to them. By week 8 of our observation, it became clear that our entire framework for understanding death worlds was fundamentally flawed. We had always viewed hostile environments as evolutionary dead-ends, places where life might exist but could never truly flourish. Humans proved that the opposite was true. The most hostile environment had produced the most remarkable species we had ever encountered. They weren't dangerous because they were aggressive. They were remarkable because they were impossibly cooperative. They weren't to be feared because they were violent. They were to be admired because they channeled their survival instincts into protection of others. We need to revise every protocol, I reported to the Council. These beings aren't a threat. They're exactly what the galaxy needs. The response was immediate. Explain. They've solved problems that have plagued galactic civilization for millennia. Their pack bonding extends beyond species lines. Imagine the diplomatic possibilities. Their adaptive creativity could revolutionize our technology. Their resilience could help us explore regions of space we've always considered too dangerous. But it was their next question that changed everything. Dr. Kethfer, what do they call themselves? I paused, checking my linguistic files one final time. They call themselves humans, Council, and they call their planet home. Following my report, the Galactic Council initiated what became known as the DEATHWORLD protocols, a complete revision of how we approach worlds previously classified as uninhabitable. The protocols established new guidelines. First Contact Protocol, Revision 15D. Species originating from high classification death worlds are to be approached with respect, not caution. Their survival indicates exceptional adaptation capabilities. Cultural exchange, Priority Alpha. Deathworld species are to be given highest priority for cultural and technological exchange programs. But most importantly, Human Integration Directive 001. Humans are to be offered full membership in the Galactic Council, with fast-track admission to all exploration and diplomatic programs. You see, we had made a fundamental error in our thinking. We assumed that a hostile environment would produce hostile beings. Instead, we discovered that the most hostile environment had produced the most remarkably cooperative, creative, and resilient species in the galaxy. That was 73 galactic cycles ago. Today, human exploration teams are pushing the boundaries of known space, their deathworld origins making them ideal candidates for missions that would be impossible for other species. Human diplomats have negotiated peace treaties between species that had been at war for centuries. Their pack bonding instincts allow them to find common ground where others see only differences. Human engineers are designing spacecraft that can survive in conditions we had always avoided. Their adaptive creativity has revolutionized everything from life support systems to faster-than-light travel, and human philosophers have changed how we think about survival itself. They taught us that thriving isn't just about avoiding death, it's about finding meaning in the face of impossible odds. The species we once classified as the most dangerous in the galaxy became our greatest teachers. The planet we marked as a quarantine zone became the source of our greatest discoveries. This is why we created the Ascended database, to preserve the record of how one species from one impossible world changed the course of galactic civilization. Sol 3, the death world we feared to approach, gave us humanity, the species that taught us what it truly means to be alive. Archive entry 001, complete. Classification status, updated to Galactic Heritage Site. Species status, humanity. Full council members, exploration corps leaders. What do you call a species that evolved on a planet where literally everything is trying to kill them? You call them teachers. You call them friends. You call them the future of galactic civilization. And if you're very lucky, you call them family. End of archive. Entry 001.